Hello again, everyone. Thanks for joining me again today. This will be my third video. And once again, I'm reading from the notes on my phone. So the show and tell about myself is not the underlying goal of these videos, but it seems to be necessary element to frame the how and why I am doing this. I will strive to keep any focus on this outer self to a minimum so we can get to the good stuff. That being said, I have seen and experienced a certain degree of our true reality, at least enough to humble me to the core. Not much ego remains. Feels like only a slight veil remains intact at times. What may possibly be perceived by others as an ego in me, I think, is a misinterpretation, a projection. Because the certainty I feel of that which I speak is not from a place of ownership or need of influence or even importance, such as the ego would wish to project. It comes from a place of awe, from a place of excitement almost, an eagerness to see my brethren awaken unto themselves. For them to discover the grandness of what they are, it's a feeling of anticipation at seeing their light expand. I will admit one selfish aspect I entertain, and that is I have felt very alone on my journey, about 30 years of aloneness. I have had 30 years of no one to communicate. The depth of my heart's understanding to, at least in the physical realm. My benefactor was the sole individual I have met who understood me here, because he had gone further. But that relationship was different. So yes, I feel a selfish reason exists in me to have company here, someone to see the same things I have seen. But is it selfishness? Or is it a method of the universal love using us to pull other sleeping brethren back into its embrace? I question this because it feels like a need and a not need simultaneously. I know inside it's inevitable. All brethren will awaken sometime on their path. It's like an urgency coupled with pleasant surprise, not an urgency mixed with fear. Because as consciousness raises higher, so much grand expression is waiting to come forth. I can feel it and can see it on the inner. It quivers in anticipation of manifesting into the blessing of all. I'm talking about how universal substance seeks divine expression in the physical manifestation. It patiently sits in an ephemeral state like a putty, with infinite promise, waiting, just waiting for the time when a sculptor commands it come forth to be a self-luminous building, bejeweled, serving mankind, or a perfectly manicured garden of design so exquisite it causes tears. The world we embody now is like a nightmarish version of what will come, and honestly, what has been here before. There have been previous golden ages attained on this planet. We slowly progress to another, and if I understand correctly, the final one, possibly permanent, which quite honestly may have been Jesus' doing. Something inside tells me this just now. I hope I have a chance to clearly explain all he did for mankind. It causes tremendous emotion in me for some reason every time I go there. Really deep love and gratitude that makes talking about it nearly impossible. Even writing these 4 sentences causes tears to just flood. I can't say I totally understand why, but maybe we had history. I sometimes feel like I was there, present when he was. If so, could it really take me 2,000 years longer to awaken? After possibly receiving his blessing? Maybe that's nothing, considering the hundreds or possibly thousands of lifetimes children go through on their path home. Makes me think about how a small bit of love shared now with a random brethren may cause or stimulate their awakening a few lifetimes further ahead. That's really our purpose now. Your vibratory quality infects all you contact. So the desire to clean one's house of all human accumulation, revealing the inner divinity, grows stronger daily. Imagine if all the focus of physical exertion mankind make in training the outer form was applied to the more potent inner realm. The outer is the effect, the inner is the cause. The outer can reflect the inner. The changes on the inner naturally affect the outer form. One can sculpt physical perfection entirely through work on the inner. It's more pure that way, yet strange aberrations do exist. One can have an amazing physical form, yet be entirely asleep on the inner, or worse, a complete miscreant. The use of willpower and desire in previous lifetimes causes many unusual discrepancies. The true work is to bring it all into harmony. Clean one's house and be physically fit. Yet do not stray into obsessive body consciousness. It's the ego's trap. Its subtle ways ensnare so easily, mainly because the state of the world in which we reside currently. Looking out, we see levels of greed, focus on wealth, status, and influence permeate the daily experience of the slumbering ones. To cope with themselves and the poor mental state that naturally follow from such behavior, they turn to pharmaceuticals and intoxicants. The constant stream of commercials intermixed with their favorite soul-atrophied TV content tells them this is the answer. It's almost like watching a zombie movie. But the zombies are here already. I don't think that's harsh. It's not a judgment. It's just what it is at the moment. Judge not, lest you be judged. If I were to judge this, I would have to have feelings of condemnation. I do not. I shall not. I learned to release this putrid behavior long ago. This situation requires compassion and patience. Let's expand briefly on the concept of judgment. It's an important dynamic to understand. If we judge a part of life, it requires condemnation, a form of hate. To harbor that feeling is to experience its vibration. To harbor that feeling is to experience its vibration and attract more of it into our lives. One's attention strengthens what it rests upon. This is the meaning of that statement. Judge not, lest you be judged. It's mathematical. It's not like there is a panel of cosmic legal authorities ready to scold you. You do it to yourself. Perfect justice. Eventually, we all make the intelligent decision to stop the self-punishment of causing bad vibes. Then instead of creating more negative karma, you have a chance to get your house in order. Plant a garden of good seed, tend it, and see it grow. What you give, you receive. What you give, you receive. In order to have, you must give. Some of you may remember these statements. There was a very interesting book that came forth many decades ago, The Course in Miracles. My teacher in Mexico used it. He introduced it to me. It contains a lot of useful content. It is a solid stone in one's footpath and journey home. There are a few other magnificent sources of near-perfect guidance out there, and a whole lot of garbage. I will possibly discuss these other sources in a future video, but have not yet had the inspiration to write about it. It really is important to cultivate divine discernment. It's a function of that inner guide I spoke about in my first video. It will always make it clear how much human nonsense is interwoven into anything, really. So going back to the giving is receiving concept, I remember something that was very distinct in my psychedelic experience. When I was feeling the absolute flood of love and appreciation flow out from me, and I mentioned this several times in that video, that the joy was in the giving, in feeling the unlimited nature of the love, like it was impossible to ever use it up. And there was absolutely nothing wanted in return, no need. No needing of anything, just a pure desire to give endlessly, and a clear realization of being a conduit, a part of a supply chain, a necessary piece. That is most definitely something of value to experience. In the process of awakening, in the moments of stillness and silence, try to feel what it must be like to be free of all limitations. It can be a powerful practice. It counteracts a great deal of ego's incessant chatter about what all the bodily senses are reporting back to the brain in chains it constructs through apparent false reasoning. It does everything in its power to make you feel inadequate, rebellious, distract us with drama, feel insecure, and tell us only what we see with these two eyes is real. That's its greatest tool. Putting up the convincing argument that seeing is believing. Well, it usually does convince us, that is, to see something. It's not wrong there. However, that's the complete opposite of how reality works. In reality, believing is seeing. If you see what the ego has done is convince us to accept what the eyes behold as the cause and the effect. You see, what the ego has done is convince us to accept what the eyes behold as both the cause and the effect. In reality, the physical world is only the effect. All manifestation we currently see was just an idea somewhere in the past. Its cause was thought, feeling, and spoken word, somewhere in the past by some being, and our thoughts, feeling, and spoken words now will someday be made into physical expression. This always precedes taking physical action to make something, does it not? So believing is seeing in reality. Faith is belief that you are open to an unseen concept. In its mildest form, it at least keeps the door open to unseen experiences. In its greatest expression, it can heal instantly, cause mystic revelations, or bring you to the gates of eternal freedom. So remember this tool when you make the effort to unwind all the subtle subterfuge ego has interwoven into your daily experience. As you work to untie the knots, it seems to fight back almost like a separate entity, a slave master. If you can work up the feeling and proper place to do this, like inside a closed car, try telling ego off next time you are conscious of its tricks. Muster some genuine feeling and say, "Shut the fuck up. I am your master now. I demand my freedom. I am my freedom." Thank you for joining me here today.